Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 15 of the Andy Campbell Championship Show, only on Ace Podcast Nation. I'm your host, Si, and I'm joined by ex-Premier League and Championship striker, Cardiff City legend, Mr. Andy Campbell. We have three main featured games from the weekend's round of matches, which we focus on, as well as talking all the other games, giving our 2 for 2, where we select two players each who've had a nightmare or a blinder from the weekend. Andy will answer your questions, no matter how weird they may get. And then we finish off with the soon-to-be award-winning 10-second segment that is Big Geordie Bingo Lingo, where Andy teaches me something about his northern culture, whether it's food or slang or a well-known phrase. So joining me to talk about all these subjects and provide expert insight and analysis is the one and only goal-scoring machine, the fox in the box, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, buddy.
Good evening, my friend. How are we?
All right, mates. All right.
It's going to be an interesting one tonight. It's going to be an interesting one.
Oh, yes.
Interesting one.
Just before we started, we had some breaking news as well. So plenty to talk about today. So we'll do the plugs, and then we can get it. We can stick to the football all the way through until people ask you some weird questions. And then we'll go. Not too bad, actually, this week, I think, if I remember correctly. So all our shows are available in video format at youtube.com/AcePodcastNation, audio at all the usual podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and a few others. Drop in on Friday. We have a brand new Unscripted and Uncensored with Welsh boxer Gavin Gwynn ahead of his upcoming fight. It was a really good laugh, that show. It was good fun to film. He answered all your questions, and we had a good chat about various things. Can't wait to have him back on after his fight as well. It's going to be good. Today's show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Away Day Apparel is a group of casually obsessed football fans looking to bring something different to the wardrobes of like-minded people. With football, music, and weekend carnage high on the agenda, they aim to bring you some exclusive products. They are edgy, controversial, but most importantly current. T-shirts, polos, shorts to hoodies, jackets and accessories. Stick with them, and they aim to bring you terrace wear that will turn heads and provide the cutting edge that we all crave. So yeah, here we go. So before, like we started last week, although we'd been doing it for a few weeks, but unofficially, we'll have our little new segment of Any Other Business, where myself and Andy can discuss anything football related. It can include subjects from outside the championship. So you got any, mate, this week?
VAR keeps cropping up again and again and again. I'll be honest, mate, it's just ruining football. It's just ruining the enjoyment for me. It's just, it's getting more serious. You know what I mean? I used to love Match of the Day. You know what I mean? I used to love it, and I used to love the pundits, Gary Lineker and Alan Shearer, talking about the games. And all I'm hearing now is about VAR. So I now watch it a little bit later, so I can fast forward the bits that I don't like, which is the in-between talking about VAR, because it's just ruining a conversation about football. Instead of talking about the best players in the world, the best teams in the world, the best game in the world, we're talking about this absolute garbage system, which is just ruining the game, ruining our football. And I think that's why fans relate to the Championship and grassroots football, because everything's just allowed to let go a little bit. You know what I mean? We're missing a few big decisions, you know what I mean? A few managers have got a little bit of a gripe that, you know what I mean, big decisions are going against them, and they say that VAR would sort that out. But look at the big games, you know what I mean? Sheffield United should have had a goal on Saturday against Tottenham before they scored the equaliser. Man City should have had a penalty. It's potentially the first goal shouldn't have been allowed. It's making a mockery of football for me, and I just, you know what I mean? It needs to be sorted out. It needs to be sorted out quickly. Biggest gripe, and me and you have both had the same thing, and it's happening again next week. And I don't know why it keeps happening all the time, but international breaks, it's ruining the Championship. You know what I mean? It's ruined seasons for teams. It's had an impact on how good they've done, how bad they've done, and the consistency of teams having a run. You know what I mean? What we in November, mid-November, so we're going to be at the end of November. International games at the end of November. For what? You know what I mean?
It's the third break, isn't it?
It's third break within the season. You know what I mean? Like, surely they can wait until until next year. Wait until the summer. At least next year. You know what I mean? I've won 1 year straight after the season starts. I've won after Christmas and 1 in the summer. I had three throughout the years. Purely, it's got to be enough. You know what I mean? On double headers. You know what I mean? And just start the competitions a little bit earlier. And I don't know. I have things throughout the summer, so footballs continue through the summer. You know what I mean? Players get paid well enough. You know what I mean? To keep themselves fit and do things right. And you know what I mean? We can go back to this. What was it, Nations Cup or whatever it was, where, you know what I mean, that was the biggest waste of time. You know what I mean? That took a lot of game time for the competitions anyway. So they made that competitive, but friendly competitive. There's no such terms. You know what I mean? Cancel the friendlies, and instead of the friendlies, have the competitive games, because some players are playing a lot of football: Champions League, Europa League, Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup. You know what I mean? I'd rather see the best players playing in the Carling Cup or whatever it's called now, Coca-Cola Cup, than people getting rested just to play for the national teams in a few weeks' time. It's just not doesn't lay right with me. But
Yeah, I think so. With the international break, I think they should do the qualifiers for the tournament the year before. So like they should have done the Euro qualifiers in the summer just gone, so that teams can get momentum. They can keep their players fit. So like you're not got Gareth Bale, who, all right, he hasn't played this year, but say for instance Gareth Bale, who's just he could have had a couple of weeks off after the season's finished, and then go into the Euro qualifiers. Whereas if he's playing like Saturday, Wednesday, and he picks up an injury, he's got no time to recover, and then they got an international break, and it's just stupid, mate. And
I agree.
In terms of the VAR, I think we might do a whole show on it next week, VAR and refereeing and stuff. But like, my problem with the VAR is like the Sheffield United, the manager would have been a lot more pissed off if they weren't doing so well.
Or they lost that game. You know what I mean? I think the big calls are happening in games, in certain games, and it's irrelevant to the way that the game's panned out. You know what I mean? Chris Wilder would have been really annoyed. You know what I mean? If they said they got beat 1-0. You know what I mean? And rightly so.
Mm-hmm.
But
same as Man City, you know, like if Man City get that penalty and they score it, that changes the game completely.
Yeah.
And
I've seen Guardiola. Guardiola's conduct after the game was unlike him. You know what I mean? Lost his cool for the first time I've seen it in a long time. You know what I mean? So, and if that's over, you know what I mean? I'm just starting to question our referees, because referees, they might as well not be there at the minute. We might as well just referee. The game looks after itself, and somebody stops the game from the tannoy and says that's a free kick. You know what I mean? The whole referee in the middle and the fourth official. You know what I mean? All these officials in the game. It's just a pointless exercise when you've got a system which is just it's failing at the minute. And you know what I mean? It was brought in to help referees, and I feel as though that they're getting it wrong, or they're being badly advised on how to use it, because we've got a system which they can go and look at the side of a pitch to make their own decision. You know what I mean? That's what I thought was there, not somebody in a TV studio telling them what is and what it is and what it isn't. You know what I mean? Someone in the TV studio saying to the referee in his ear, go and look at your TV. You know what I mean? That's the advice you should be given, nothing else. Go and look at your TV, and you've got a minute and a half or 90 or 2 minutes to decide. You know what I mean? If you can't make a decision in that time, then it's not a goal, it's not a penalty. Because if you can't make a judgment in that time after watching it again, and it's different to the judgment that you've already just made in the game, then you stick by that decision. And if it's wrong later on, after watching it 10, 15 times, then it's wrong. But we all make a mistake. And if you watch something 10 times and you're still getting it wrong,
then it wasn't that clear cut.
There wasn't that clear cut, you know what I mean? So it's like, what's offside? Is your leg offside? Is your head offside? It doesn't matter what part of your body is. If you're offside, you're offside. And if the defender's toenail is keeping him onside, he's onside. It's one of the things. It's frustrating because, you know what I mean? It just ruins Sundays of football, because you know what I mean? Instead of having Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville talking about the best 2 teams in the world for me at the minute, and the best players in the world, we're talking about manager's reaction, we're talking about VAR, we're talking about things which for me is just having a big negative impact on football at the minute. And I'm so glad, you know, I'm so glad that I wasn't part of football when it came in, because I don't know, it must be hard. It must be hard to, you're just about to kick off. You're just about to kick off a game, and then all of a sudden you haven't let a goal in. You've scored, you've celebrated, you're back at the line, and then all of a sudden you haven't scored, and you've got to start again. Like, mentally, that must just mess around with your head, and you know what I mean. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. But
Well, like one of the TV shows I was watching yesterday, they were instead of analysing the game, they were talking about how the Sheffield United player would have been onside if he had smaller feet, and I was just like,
oh my god,
it's just like, well, I don't really want, I don't want to watch that. That's not analysis. That's not looking at the football. That's just stupid. It was just, I just mind them in that, and I do feel like it's ruining it. And I agree with you in that I feel like the guy in the studio should literally just be saying, you've missed, I think you might have missed something, have another look. And he goes to the side, he looks on the screen, and he's got 2 minutes to have a look. Or,
yeah.
I think you've got that wrong, go and have a look. Not the person in the studio deciding, because that person's got no accountability. No one, he's not like in cricket or rugby where you can hear the fourth official speaking, so the thought process behind their decision. It's no one knows what's going on, and then all of a sudden the ref just tells you whether it's a goal or it's not a goal or it's a free kick. Yeah. And it's just mind. I don't know. I was all for VAR because of how well cricket and rugby had used it.
Yeah, I was as well. I was, but it doesn't. I think this is proving that it doesn't work in every sport. That every sport's got its individuality, and tennis, cricket, rugby. It works really well with those. But I think with football, I just hope. I don't know. I hope they make the right decision next going forward. That they either stop it or it gets fixed and it's used properly.
Yeah, it needs to be just adjusted. I think. I think they should try and do something with it now in this break. In that they should get the referees together and say, look, let's have the referees making the decisions by going to the side and looking at the screen, not having the fourth official or fifth official looking at it in a TV studio, taking 5 minutes and then still getting it wrong. It's like they need to do something about it, because people are getting more and more frustrated.
Well, things aside, why not start it in the lower leagues? Why not start it in the Championship? Why not? You know what I mean? This is where they should have done it. They should have done it in competitions or the league, which doesn't have as big impact as it does in the Premier League, so they can roll out all discrepancies and just sort it all out, really. You know what I mean? And then it wouldn't have an impact. And if you use it in Championship and the FA Cup, then the Premier League teams would have a little bit of an insight of what it was like when they played in the FA Cup, and it wouldn't be as big of a hit when it started full time in the Premier League. But I think they missed a massive trick there for me.
I agree. They should have done it from the lower leagues up rather than the top down.
Yeah,
it didn't make that much sense to me, to be honest. The other thing I was going to ask your opinion on, really, because I'm still kind of undecided. So during the Champions League match last week, you had Ajax and Chelsea were playing. Ajax were winning comfortably, and then Chelsea attacked. And as they were breaking towards the area, there was a foul. But the ball broke and it was an advantage. So from the advantage, then there was I think it was a handball, so a penalty was given. Yeah. So the referee went back and booked the initial player who made the foul, and it was second yellow card, red card, and then he booked the player who'd given away the penalty for his second yellow card. So they had two players sent off in the same phase of play, taking them to 9 men, and they conceded a penalty. Now, I got to be honest, this is something which I've thought about over the last couple of years. A couple of times I thought, what would happen if, they kind of play the advantage and then they go back and they book both players? They could end up having 2 send-ins off. But it's never happened before, or I've never seen it. And obviously it changed the game, because not only did Chelsea score the penalty and get back into the game, but they were playing against 9 men for a good portion of the second half to get back into the game. So I'm kind of interested in what you thought of that, whether you thought it was the right decision, whether you've ever seen it before, and whether you would have been happy if you were a player on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, I've never seen it before, and to be honest, I was really surprised with the way the referee handled it for me, because You know what I mean? Once you play advantage, I don't think you can punish a team twice for the same incident. You know what I mean? In the same phase of play. I was surprised that he gave both players a yellow card, knowing that they're both on a yellow card. And I thought about a different scenario, and I thought about, let's say that I did a tackle which was worthy of a yellow card, but the ref played on, and then I did another tackle 5 seconds later, which is worthy of a yellow card. Would the referee give me 2 yellow cards? I don't think he would.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I think he'd give me 1 yellow card because it was the same phase of play. So I don't think he should have done that. I don't think he should have punished the club or the team. You know what I mean? For me, the penalty's the punishment. The penalty and the yellow card is the punishment. If that's a yellow card for the penalty, then that's the only thing you should do. And the original one, for me, has got to get a bit of a respite because, you know what I mean? It's setting a precedent now because I don't think that'll ever happen again. And I don't think it'll ever happen again because of what happened in that game. And I think it's such a shame because if that's the rules, it should happen all the time, but it doesn't happen all the time. You know what I mean? Because I think there's certainly been times when it could have happened and it didn't happen. And you know what I mean? It's just happened that Ajax got punished 3 times. You know what I mean? You get punished for the penalty, you get punished for the red card for the penalty, or the second yellow, and you get punished for the second yellow for the red for the lad who's playing advantage. You know what I mean? And for me, that advantage should have been let go for that initial foul. And you know what I mean? Because the refs deemed it to be. He knew he was on a yellow card, you see, so he could have easily stopped it and given him a red card. Because we've seen the referees making rash decisions in the Championship about getting the wrong players and this and that, whatever. How long could that have been left before the ball went out of play and then potentially would have forgot who he'd booked anyway? You know what I mean? So it's a grey area, I think. Another grey area which I think we need to get away from. You know what I mean? The football needs to be the main focus instead of the referees. And you know what I mean, that was a talking point of the game. Instead of the game being one of the best games of football in the Champions League this season, you're talking about a referee's decision. And yes, the referee's decision had an impact on what happened in the result and the way the game was, but Ajax performance before that happened was just impeccable. You know what I mean? They've lost a lot of players, lost all the best players in the world to Barcelona, to Juventus, and they can still turn up in London and turn over one of the most impressive teams in England at the minute by playing neat, attractive football and creating chances, scoring goals. And I felt really sorry for them, to be fair.
Yeah, and that's after they lost at home to Chelsea as well, quite comfortably.
Yeah.
So to come, to mentally come and perform like that was a big, a big performance. Like to me, I felt could VAR have helped the ref out a bit and said, look, just book one of them. I don't know. It's a grey area, isn't it?
Could the fourth official have got involved? They're all mic'd up. They're all talking to each other. The linesmen, they all speak the same language. Do you know what I mean? They could have easily
had a conversation about it.
Had a conversation, just said, he's already on a yellow. He's already on a yellow card.
Which one should I book?
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're both on a yellow card. You know what I mean? You can't send them both off. It's got to be the penalty. The penalty is the main focus. You know what I mean? So once you've booked him, and then you've made the decision to book the penalties. You've now made a rod for your own back. And
well, when I first saw it, I thought he was going to take it back to the original foul because he booked the original foul first. So I thought he was going to take it back to that and not give the penalty. Which, yeah. All right.
Well, there's an argument for you then, because that's the original foul. So if he's going to send him off, that's the free kick. Go back to that one, send him off.
Because that negates. So say I foul you, and then as the ball rolls away, 2 players come in for a challenge because they haven't heard the whistle, and one player fouls another. It's a dead ball, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. It's the first phase of play. You know what I mean? That I'm all for referees playing an advantage. You know what I mean? And Frank Lampard must have been laughed his head off because he got an advantage for the free kick. He got a penalty. He got a yellow card, which turned into a red. He got another yellow card, which turned into a red. He got a goal out of it. So he's gained 5 advantages from a referee deciding to play advantage. You know what I mean? It's just
crazy.
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. But you know what I mean? Chelsea fans weren't complaining, and to be fair, it made for a really good game of football. And Chelsea probably should have won it in the end, but I'm so glad they didn't, because Ajax deserve something from the game, the way that it panned out, and you know what I mean. I know we talk about the Championship today, but I mean, Ajax play the right way. They've got some fantastic young footballers, and you know what I mean. And being up against it and having 9 men and being rattled by what happened, you know what I mean. To be able to keep your composure and see a game out and get a result, a positive result, was really impressive.
Yeah, they had to keep it together, didn't they? They could have easily lost their discipline and got their hair off and just got a bit frustrated. But they kept it together and they got a point, which is going to be frustrating when you've 4-1, I think, at one point. But yeah, refereeing, the standard of refereeing, I think, has been piss poor for a couple of years now, and I think VAR has made it worse.
I think for me, it's made them lazy. For me, Si, you know what I mean. I think that's the word I'd use. For me, it's made referees lazy because if they know if they make a mistake, that someone else is going to get them out of the shit. Do you know what I mean? That someone else is going to be able to overrule the decision, so it doesn't really matter if they get it right or wrong. Where before they have to be involved in everything, they have to make sure that every decision was the right decision. You know what I mean? I've always said, and I've always been an advocate for referees that they're the same as managers and players for me. That they should come out after a game and they should do an interview. 30 minutes after a game, if they were called for Sky or for whatever, for Match of the Day, to do an interview, to be questioned about their performance and their decision, or a decision in a game, then they should have to answer it. And that should have happened. You know what I mean? It's managers have to do it, players have to do it. So for me, referees are no different for me.
I think that should have happened years ago as well, because I think managers would be more understanding of decisions being made if they can understand why a decision's been made. Particularly if you've got these certain referees who are quite arrogant or quite like they won't speak to the managers or their players. They're like, go away from me, don't speak to me, and they don't want to explain, why they're making a decision. So that can be quite agitating for managers or clubs or fans or players. So if they're forced to answer a few questions, I think that could do a lot to alleviate some frustration with certain decisions. So just before we, not long before we started recording, there was some breaking news in the Championship. Cardiff City have parted company with manager Neil Warnock. He's obviously 70 years old in the final year of his contract. He'd announced at the start of the season that he was leaving. At the end, he was retiring at the end of this year. He joined Cardiff City in 2016, October. Now, look, Neil Warnock's done a fantastic job for Cardiff City, and I'll always be eternally grateful for him getting us back, not to the Premier League, back in shape, because, like, when Russell Slade was in charge, I thought we were going down to League One and beyond. And Warnock has, he steadied the ship, and not just that, he took us from probably around 14th, 15th, 16th when he came in, and got us promoted, and took us up to the Premier League. I've got to be honest. I think that the stuff with the thing which happened to Salah, I felt like that changed him. I don't think he was the same guy after that as a manager. Not for obviously personally, it affected him greatly. I just felt like he didn't recover from that. And Cardiff had a relatively good fight in terms of trying to stay up in the Premier League, but he just didn't look the same manager this season. And I think it's the right decision. I think it's the right time for him to go. We said last week that we felt it was getting to that point now where he needs to go, because otherwise you've got to write off the whole season, and it's not even Christmas yet. You can't be writing off a season now if you're Cardiff City and a club the size of Cardiff City. I felt like, and you said this, right back when I think it was either the first Championship podcast we did, or it was the in the preview show, it might have been, that you felt it was a mistake to announce that he was retiring at the end of the season, because he straight away gave the players an excuse. Yeah. What do you think, mate? Do you think it's the right time and the right decision?
I said before we came on, side, I think it takes a big man to walk away from something, from a project and from a football club. You know what I mean? If it is mutual consent, or he was pushed a little bit, that he still made the decision to go. You know what I mean? And I think he's got a love for the club. That, you know what I mean? I do think it was right time to go, because I think he's been in football long enough to know that other clubs have brought new managers in, and the positive impact it's had from other clubs. You look at Stoke City at the weekend, new manager, 3 points. Millwall have done it. Reading have done it. You know what I mean? So hopefully a brand new approach, and the players will have to start performing, because obviously January window's coming around the corner, and the last thing you want as a player is to not be performing when January comes around, because you can find yourself out of favour, looking for a new club, and really at the bottom of the barrel at a football club, really, and players can't afford that to happen. You know, Cardiff aren't a bad side. They've got a strong squad. They've got good players. They've got an excellent fan base. They've got, you know what I mean, and they need to really, the fans really need to understand the job that Neil Warnock's done.
Yeah,
because he's got bums back on seats. You know what I mean. He wasn't the preferred choice when he took over. You know what I mean. It wasn't probably my choice when he took over, but the brand of football wasn't always fantastic. And I think the mistake that he's from a fan as well as an ex-player, from what I've noticed this year, is the club and the team have tried to play a brand of football this year, and for me, it's been unsuccessful. And from the way that they got promoted 2 seasons ago, you know what I mean, there wasn't probably a lot of football. They played the Championship way, and the Championship way would probably be dominating games, playing for set pieces, putting the balls in the box, and playing for second balls. And I'm seeing them trying to play a little bit more football. And sometimes the teams in the Championship don't need to play football to get results. And you know what I mean? It's about winning the battles and getting balls in dangerous areas, and giving the balls to the people who can hurt you. And at the minute, other teams are hurting Cardiff City more than Cardiff are hurting them. And I was gutted today when you texted me and told me straight on Twitter, and had a look, and I was gutted, because I've got time for Neil. I've you know what I mean. I respect for him as a manager over the years. I've played against him. You know what I mean. Never been fortunate to play for him, but I spoke to him on a number of times about just about life in general, and about futures and playing days and stuff. And I've got time for the man, and you know what I mean. He'll be hurting tonight. You know what I mean. But sometimes it can be a bit of a relief. You know what I mean. That, you know what I mean. People on social media asking, is he going to go for this job? Is he going to go for that job? You know what I mean. He was retiring anyway. So will he risk his reputation now for the last couple of months to scrape around looking for a job? I'll be very surprised if he does. You know what I mean. I think he's done himself proud for me, and he's walked away with his head held high, and left Cardiff City mid-table with still a chance to progress this season, and he's left them with enough time for someone to have a positive impact. So for me, I think it's got to be win-win for Cardiff City and for all the fans and the players.
Yeah, it's my understanding that he quite enjoys doing the the stuff on Talk Sport. I know he did a lot of stuff doing the breakfast show with Alan Brazil, and he's done like the kickoff shows and stuff where they're previewing games. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him just do that for the rest of this year. But people forget, like, he's 70, like 70 is it's old, like, without being disrespectful or rude. Like, it's to be working full time at that age is a big ask, especially in a stressful environment. So before I go into the potential replacements, my one concern from a club's point of view is that I believe they're going to try and get for lack of a better term, a penny pincher, someone who's going to wheel and deal and not give him too much money, which is the mistake they made with Russell Slade, in that they brought in a guy who signed a load of League One players who didn't want to, basically cut all the contracts down to the very lowest they could be, and they paid for it. And he was a bit of a yes man. And I just hope that they don't make that mistake again after the success of Warnock, thinking that they can just bring in any old person. Because there's some decent managers about. I threw together a quick list of potential replacements. I asked you, and I asked some people like on Twitter and stuff. So the names that I sort of came up with in a very short space of time. And I know some people won't agree with these, but it was just a quick thing with people I've seen linked. So you've got Craig Bellamy, who I believe is currently working with Anderlecht, is it, with the company?
Yeah,
He's hometown boy, very, very passionate and explosive. But he'd also expect very high standards day in, day out to training, games, everything. And I think I said to you a couple of weeks ago, that's good in that, that's what a club Cardiff side should expect. But I'm not sure some of those players would be up to it, whether it's technically or mentally, or I'm just unsure what sort of reaction he would get. And I also think if you're going to give it to Craig Bellamy, you've got to give him 3 to 5 years. He's got to be allowed to improve the academy all the way up to the first team and implement his own vision of what he wants to do and how he wants to play football.
Yeah.
What do you think? So I tell you what, we'll go through them individually, and then, rather than me listing them all off. So you've got Bellamy as the first one. What do you reckon?
My only issue with and that's probably reading up a little bit on the allegations about what happened with the youth team. You know what I mean? And that's my only concern now is if he'd have left Cardiff City and gone over to Belgium, he'd come back tomorrow. You know what I mean? But there's going to be potentially something what's going to hold back. And if that's, you know what I mean, he's obviously, like you said, he's high standards, and that's high standards of himself as well. And he'll think, or he'll know that he didn't do anything wrong if that's the case. And you know what I mean? But the decision was made by somebody to get rid of him at that football club. And if that person's still there, if he does come back, then that's up to them to sort out. You know what I mean? It's going to be a big decision to make for everybody. But you know what I mean? It's got to be the right one for the football club. It's got to be the right decision made for the football club. You know what I mean? It's got to be sorted out, and it's got to be done for the best of the club.
Yeah, and it'd be a big first job for him as well. I can see the benefits, but I can see the negatives, to him as well.
But then there's no better time side for this to happen. Do you know what I mean? Because if it doesn't happen now for Craig Bellamy, I don't think it will happen. You know what I mean? Regardless of people say that it can happen in the future, this for me is a perfect time for it to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And is it worth a punt? I think it probably is worth a punt, and I think it's worth a punt from both sides. And even if it was on a trial basis for the rest of the season to see how we did for the rest of the season with a view of a longer term contract, I think it would excite the supporters and they'd see a different brand and towards the end of the season see how things were working out. Because let's be honest, I don't think that the players in the squad can perform as a group any worse than they are now. You know what I mean? As in league table wise. So for me, I think the only way is up for whoever takes over, and I think whoever takes over, I think is in a really good position, really really good position.
Yeah, it could be a good shout to give it to him to the end of the season, see how he does, and if he does, exceptionally well or he does very well, you give him that 3 to 5 years to implement his vision for the club or whatever it may be, and get some experience in there, working around him. The next one on the list was Carl Robinson, obviously a Welshman he plays a very attractive brand of football. He had a great record with MK Dons. He had a stint at Charlton before his current job at Oxford. Not for me, as much as I really used to enjoy watching him, the football he played for, particularly for MK Dons. And I do long to see Cardiff play some decent football. He wouldn't be my first choice. He'd be on the bottom of my little shortlist anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a whole range of managers for me who I think would be approached before Carl, unfortunately. And that's no disrespectful to anybody who's available at the time. I think, you know what I mean. You said it earlier about the appointment needs to be right and for the not go down the cheap option. I think that would be that cheap option, and you know what I mean, because I think it's about having high standards, and there's some big name managers out there. You know what I mean. You look at the impact, for example, Slaven Bilic has had at West Bromwich Albion. You know what I mean. So they went down the route of right. We need to make a big statement this season. We need to go for the biggest manager we can get, who's available. You know what I mean? So but then you look at the other side of it, Middlesbrough. You know what I mean? They could have made a statement and gone down the Jokanovic route, but they didn't. They went down the homegrown, unexperienced route, and look where they currently are. And you know what I mean? Sometimes it's important to get the recruitment right, and that's on and off the pitch. You know what I mean? And so I think this next appointment's huge.
So on the sort of the route of a bigger name, we've just seen Michael O'Neill go into Stoke, leaving his Northern Ireland job after the playoff if they get there and the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Welsh team have got 2 qualifiers this week, and then they've got potentially a playoff. Ryan Giggs is there and waiting. I think it's undeniable that he is waiting for a club job. He took the Welsh job to do exactly what Mark Hughes did. He wanted to get experience in managing a football team at a good level so that he could then move into club football. He's Welsh. He's born in Cardiff.
Yeah.
I think Cardiff fans, the majority of Cardiff fans, will not want him. I think the majority of Welsh fans outside of Cardiff will want him to go to Cardiff because I don't think he's particularly popular. I think I'm in the minority in that I wouldn't be devastated if he got the job for Cardiff. He wouldn't be my first choice either, but equally, I like the job that he's done with the young Welsh players, and I think I'd quite like to see him stay on with Wales and finish that job of bringing those young Welsh lads through, because there's a lot of talent in underneath the first team in the Welsh system that, with the right guidance could be something special. But that's just my opinion.
I'm a big Ryan fan, so you know what I mean. I would love him to be Cardiff City manager. I'll be honest. You know what I mean. It would excite me. He would go bring in some very good football. His contacts around the game are huge. You know what I mean. So he could ring any manager up in the Premier League and get those kind of players on the fringes of the Premier League teams. And you know what I mean. And I think he potentially could take that football club to the next level. It wouldn't be a cheap option. I think long term it would be quite an expensive option because I think his high standards of his playing days would mean that he'd want to work with a certain brand of player. But so be it. You know what I mean. Cardiff do spend money. You know what I mean. They've bought Gratzel this season. They've bought Aiden Flint. You know what I mean. They spent a decent chunk of money. Not the same level of the Fulhams and the Bristol Cities, etc. But you know what I mean. I think there's still a lot of money in the coffers, but it's got to be spent by the right manager. And I think with Neil stepping down today, I think it gives the manager a bit of time to look at his squad. And come January the 1st, you'll see some new signings brought in. And for example, you said there about young Welsh players. If Ryan Giggs took over, you could probably see Ampadu walk through the door on January the 1st as a first signing, you know what I mean? So he could bring in the exciting Welsh players, you know what I mean, with him, and that's with some international players as well. And I just think he could attract, you know what I mean? I was at Middlesbrough, very fortunate to be at Middlesbrough, and Brian Robson was there. And Brian Robson's biggest trait for me was he could attract the best players in the world, and Ryan Giggs could do that as well, you know what I mean? Because he's just an icon of football, and you know what I mean. I know he's had his issues, and he's had certain things happening, and obviously there's certain parts of probably Wales who don't want him or don't want him part of this football club or that football club or part of the national team. But you know what I mean. Would he be a benefit? Would he be a benefit for Cardiff City? Yes, he would. I think. You know what I mean. So for me, I think it'd be another no-brainer. But you know what I mean. It would excite me if I seen the news tomorrow. It would really excite me.
Yeah, I agree.
But not side to do two roles. It would be one role and the other role.
He'd have to do what Michael O'Neill's done.
Michael O'Neill's
finish off his qualifiers.
Yeah, because it's important. You know what I mean? It's a full-time job. You know what I mean? And both are full-time jobs, so you can't do full-time jobs part-time.
Yeah, I think my one concern, or maybe not my concern, I wonder whether Vincent Tan and Dalman's concern would be what happened with Solskjaer and whether they would consider them, a similar kind of, level and experience and stuff, and whether they would worry about getting their fingers burnt again. But, I don't know about that. So next up we got, let's have a look. So we got suggested by at Nye Brownie, Gareth Ainsworth, which I thought was a really good shout, an interesting one. One of my favourite Cardiff City wingers of all time.
Outside the box, you know what I mean. He's earned the stripes at Wickham, you know what I mean. So, you know what I mean. But and this isn't me sounding disrespectful to Gareth, you know what I mean. I know Gareth really well, you know what I mean. He was a teammate of mine and a good lad. He's a good player, very good player, and obviously a very good manager. But would that be seen as another cheap option? Because the players that he's worked with and the players that he could probably attract would be not currently at the championship level. You know what I mean? That we spoke about the Cowley brothers, didn't we? You know what I mean, about the job the good job they're doing. They're doing a very good job. You know what I mean? And they've turned that football club around, but it's a long-term project. And I don't see Cardiff as a long-term project. You know what I mean? Cardiff are where they are, and they could easily shoot back up that league, but they need the right person to work with those players. You know what I mean? And if somebody came in who's not used to working with that caliber of player, you know what I mean, might be out their depth a little bit. You know what I mean? And we've seen some managers in the Championship who are out the depth as managers, and because they're not used to working with the kind of players and the egos and this player and that player, and it's not an easy job. You know what I mean? It's not an easy job managing players. You know what I mean? I've been a player myself, and imagine me managing me. You know what I mean? I was a nightmare. You know what I mean? I was a nightmare. So imagine 35 of me. You know what I mean? It's hard work. You know, so it's the club's got a huge job on their hand getting the recruitment right, and that'll have started tomorrow. You know what I mean? And but they need it in place soon, because for me, the sooner they get it done and they get it over the line, they can work with the players, because this international break now is probably the best possible time. We said this when other teams have done it, that why did they not hire a manager when you've got 2 weeks off? Why did you wait for 3 days before the next game? You know what I mean? Do it now. Do it now before the weekend, so someone can have a week's training and get somebody ready for the next game, instead of waiting for the Friday before the next game and having 36 hours with the players and that being the excuse of why they haven't won. You know, that just drives me mad. That I just don't get it. You know what I mean? The football club's a business. You know what I mean? You wouldn't do it in any other business. So why football's no different?
No, you're right. Gareth Ainsworth's been at Wickham since 2012. So, I mean, he's obviously doing something right to keep his job for that long.
Yeah.
Not many managers do keep their job for that long.
No.
So the last two on our list are Lee Bowyer and Chris Hughton.
Lee Bowyer's, you know what I mean, for me, manager of the year so far. He's had a great season, but would he see that as a sideward step? I'm biased. Obviously, you're biased as well, and you know what I mean. I'd see it as a step up. You know what I mean, because he's moving to a bigger football club, higher expectations. You know what I mean, bigger fan base. But you know what I mean, the way that he's pushing Charlton Athletic. You know what I mean, that maybe people will see that as a sideward step or a negative move for him as his career. But I'd love him. I'd love him at Cardiff City. I think his passion, his ideas, his tactics, his football awareness, and just the way that he's handled himself this season is excellent for me.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time Cardiff City had a manager who changed their shape and their tactics depending on the opponent. So he does excite me. However, I think it would be very difficult to pry him away from Charlton. I get the impression that the only way he would leave Charlton is to go to Leeds. I've got to be honest. Chris Hughton.
If you're looking for experience and you're looking for somebody who's been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, got promoted, been in the Premier League, you know what I mean. He ticks all those boxes for me. So you know what I mean. It wouldn't surprise me if they went down the experience route. You know what I mean, and not as experienced as obviously the manager who's just left. But you know what I mean. Chris has been there. He's wore his stripes. He's been a coach and assistant manager. he's done really well. I thought he was unlucky to lose his job at Brighton, to be fair. I thought he did a great job there, and he played an attacking brand of football and had some exciting players, and you know what I mean. He obviously knows the league really well as well. So, you know what I mean. The names that we've said, you know what I mean. And there's more out there, by the way. You've got Jokanovic, who was at Fulham. You know what I mean. These kind of managers. You know what I mean. There's exciting people around. So, whoever the board and the owners decide to bring in, it's going to be an exciting time because the football club can hopefully go to the next level and stay where they need to be and where they deserve to be in my eyes, and that's the Premier League.
Indeed, yeah. So let's move on to the football. We've spent a little bit longer than normal on the any other business, but that's mainly because obviously this was breaking news just before. So let's start with Cardiff, seeing as we're talking about them already, and we'll just quickly go through their game. Obviously, it's another derby and another loss. They lost 1-0 to Bristol. You take it away, mate, because
another derby game and another defeat. And I will say though, from the Swansea game, which I came into the game a little bit worried because of the performance against the Swans and how all over the place at times they were against Birmingham defensively. But I thought they were much better. I thought they went into that game with a derby mentality. I thought they were up for it a little bit. You know what I mean? Obviously they had a few players missing, which obviously didn't help at all. With the way that they wanted to play, you know what I mean? With obviously Joe got his hat trick the week before, no Gratzel, you know, so it can obviously have a negative impact on the way that you play. And I thought they were a lot better. I thought Junior Hoylett in the first half was electric, taking people on. His shot would hit the crossbar. You know, it's fine margins side. We spoke about this before we came on air. That's Baguna hitting the bar as well. You know what I mean? And it's fine margins between those two going in and settling the crowd down. The players being able to settle down and those two go in, Cardiff win 1-0. That Neil Warnock's still a manager of Cardiff City. You know what I mean? That's the fine margins for me of the season. But you know what I mean? You can't take anything away from Bristol City. I thought defensively at times, I thought they defended really well. I thought they threw the body in front of things, which is Ashley Williams all over. You know what I mean? You know that they've been all over the place at times over the last few weeks. Bristol City and Lee Johnson's team have been very, very inconsistent. But I thought the goal from Brownhill was superbly hit. You know what I mean? I thought when I watched it the first time, I thought it took a massive deflection. I think it did take a nick, but you know what I mean? I thought it probably would have gone in anyway. You know what I mean? I thought it was a very good strike, and it's just for me, it's the fine margins of games, and you know what I mean. Once that goal went in, I didn't really see Cardiff getting back into it, and I was just seeing the confidence deteriorate from the players, the groans from the fans, and it was disappointing. And you know what I mean? I think probably looking back now, you probably could see the manager leaving this week after the game on Sunday lunchtime because of the way that the club's going at the minute, and just the fortunes need to change. And if that's a new manager coming in and the players have a different mentality, then that's the best thing for the football club, because you know what I mean, we can't afford to keep losing these big games against rivals and still expect to be up there fighting for the playoffs.
Yeah, spot on. But I mean, what have we said about Cardiff's wingers all season? About their you know, on their day they're great, but they're inconsistent. Nathaniel Mendez-Lang last week, I gave him. He was one of my 2 for 2 because he looked back to his best, and then Sunday he's dreadful. And it's like, you know, what can you do with that? You know, Sunday he couldn't beat a man, couldn't get a cross in.
Yeah.
Just as a manager, I'm not sure what Warnock was supposed to do, because he could never get any combination of those wingers to play more than 2 games well at a time.
No, and that's part of me side what I feel sorry for. Feel sorry for the manager, you know what I mean? Because he's putting these players out, expecting them to go and perform, and you know what I mean. You just name one there, Mendez-Lang, you know what I mean. Junior Hoylett, you know what I mean. You've got Murphy, you've got Gavin White, you know what I mean. You've got you've got Patterson, sorry. You've got Bogle, Murphy. You've got Murphy, you've got all these players, all these attacking players. Lee Tomlin, you know what I mean. That how on earth can they all not play well at the same time, or some of them not play well at the same time? At the minute, we're having all these players underperforming at the same time, and it's such a shame, because you know what I mean. We've got so much talent on that pitch on Saturday lunchtime, and it's a cat's whiskers away from being a good result, good performance. But then after the game, it's a terrible result against on the day an average side. So
yeah, I think I thought Bristol I didn't think they were that great.
No,
It was a very good goal. I thought Ashley Williams was good. But he's always up. He's always bang up for it when he plays against Cardiff City. Whether he's played it for Everton or he's played for Swansea, he's always up for it. And he gets a bit of grief, and there we go. The only Cardiff player who I thought was excellent was Pack. I thought he was very, very good.
Yeah, well, I expected that side with it being Bristol City. You know what I mean? He got stuck in. He was winning his battles. He looked like a proper derby for him.
Oh, and I thought Nelson was pretty good as well. Actually, I tell a lie. The rest I thought were okay. Hoyler had a good first half. The only third thing I'll say about that game is I heard Johnson on TalkSport in the afternoon yesterday, and he had a bit of a moan about. It wasn't even a moan. It was like, I've had loads of injuries. It's been really difficult. Kind of like I was looking for my violin a bit, and Bristol have got one of the biggest squads, and I think they have got the biggest squad in the Championship. Not just the biggest squad, but they've spent an absolute fortune, Premier League amounts of money. So to hear him kind of going on about injuries and stuff didn't really sit right with me. However, maybe I was a bit sour from losing the game. I don't know, but we've said all season that Bristol have got the squad and they've spent the money. They've got to go up, because if they don't go up, I think they're in trouble because of the amount they've spent.
Yeah, I totally agree, and you know what I mean. That for me smells of a manager who's under pressure, who you know what I mean, who's looking for excuses if the next result's not around the corner. You know what I mean. Yeah, you can't be. You know what I mean. He spent a lot of money. He's got a big squad. He's brought players in, and you bring players in case you get injuries, and injuries are part and parcel of a season. You know what I mean. So, because that's like saying, if when all in players are back, that they should win the league. So they should win every single game. So now that's what he's saying. When his players are fit, they should win every single game. And obviously, every single football fan and every single manager expects your team to win, but expecting and winning are just two separate things. And you know what I mean? It's for me, it's a little bit of arrogance as well. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of the way he goes around at times and some of the things he says. But you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a Bristol City thing or what, but you know what I mean? If somebody told me that Lee Johnson was going to be Cardiff City manager, I wouldn't be very impressed, I'll tell you
that. No, me neither. He can. Yeah. So, I just wanted to add as well, before anyone has a little bit of a moan and says, "Oh, you've done Cardiff in the top 3 games for the last 3 weeks in a row." You guys vote for the games, the top 3 featured games. I put it out every Saturday night or Sunday morning, and you guys vote for it, and we talk about it. So if you don't, all my mates are pretty much Cardiff fans, or the majority of my followers and Cardiff fans on my personal account are Cardiff fans. A lot of the people who then follow the Ace Podcast Nation account through that account are Cardiff fans. Obviously, a lot of Andy's mates and followers are either Cardiff or Borough fans. So, if you'd like us to talk about your team more, vote, share, tell your friends to vote and share, and then your team will be featured in the top 3 games. And that's it. Otherwise, it's just going to be Cardiff every week, I would have thought.
Yep.
But there we go. We spent a lot longer on Cardiff this week. So for any new listeners, we don't normally talk about Cardiff.
No, it's just the breaking news. Happened. Yeah.
So let's move away from Wales for a bit, and let's go to Nottingham for a little trip. So Forest 1, Derby 0.
Another derby. Obviously a local derby there. To be fair, it's been a derby. Derby County I thought was started excellently well. Should have gone ahead. Lawrence was unlucky not to score. Had a great strike saved by the goalkeeper, and then for me it was the Sammy Amiobi show. I thought he was absolutely out of this world. I thought some of the trickery from out wide. He had a couple of long range shots, which tested the goalkeeper a good few times in the first half, and then second half he just continued to do it. He was just causing every wave after wave after wave of attack, and he just causing problems, but. At the same time, I thought there was not going to be a goal in the game. I thought with all these good players on the pitch, there was just not going to be a goal. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean, the young Bogle for Derby just decided to inexplicably just pass the ball back, and the one person you don't want to pass the ball back to is Lewis Grabbin. And he didn't think twice, you know what I mean? I thought he was really quiet in the game, and you can't give a player that quality chances like that. And once that was in the net, I didn't really see Derby getting back into it, but you know what I mean, they probably could have done later on. You know what I mean, had a couple of chances, and probably could have got level. One thing I will say, to finish that, I thought Tom Lawrence was a very lucky boy to stay on that pitch. He did a shocking tackle. You know what I mean? I've been there. That you go into a tackle as a forward player, and you think that you're going to get hurt, and so you defend yourself with your studs showing, or you go over a little bit of the ball just to try and protect yourself. But when the other defender or the other player doesn't go into the ball at all, like the defender didn't, it just looked horrendous. And you know what I mean? I thought the referee missed a stonewall red card there, and it was a little bit naughty. And I'm not all for retribution and him getting banned retrospectively later on, because the referee gave him a yellow card, so he's seen it, didn't think it was bad.
Yeah.
So he's been done, sorted out now. But I thought, and I bet you he thought when the referee came over that I'm going to get a red here. And if it had been given a red, it would have been thoroughly deserved. But it was an entertaining game. Derby are hit and miss. You know what I mean? They beat Middlesbrough last week. I think away from home, Derby are just disgusting. You know what I mean? At home, they're all right in the winning games, but away from home, they can't seem to hit the barn door. They don't create chances. And, you know what I mean? It'd be interesting if Mr. Rooney, when he does finally arrive, if he can change their fortunes in away from home and give them that little bit of an extra drive and confidence. But, you know what I mean? They're just... It's like the manager's getting them to play and overplay in areas that they shouldn't be playing. You know what I mean? That I don't blame the defender for playing out from the back from the goal kick, for giving the goal away, because he's obviously told to do it. You know what I mean? And if he's been told to do it by the manager's got to take responsibility. Don't be coming out publicly and slating your players for doing bad passes, because you're asking them to play a difficult way of playing in the Championship. It's you know what I mean, with a high press that the Forest used. You know what I mean? You're setting yourself up for a massive fall, and you know what I mean. But overall, I think Forest deserved the 3 points, and it was a big 3 points which Forest needed, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Derby away, to use one of my favourite phrases, is piss poor, mate. Real piss poor, real bad. I don't know what's going on with it.
No.
Tom Lawrence, I'll speak about a bit more in a bit. But yeah, we've talked about, I would say, on at least 4 or 5 different episodes about Derby County and Koku trying to play a certain way from the back and asking players who, I think earlier in the season, he was asking Keogh to do it a lot, and Keogh was struggling with it to pass out from the back. And then you got this young lad who's playing right back. He's played it across the face of goal, and it's cost him the game.
Yeah.
So the manager has got to take responsibility for that. I haven't seen his comments for after the game. Did he slate him for it?
He didn't slate him, but you know what I mean. He more or less just said obviously it was a mistake, but it's not a mistake if you ask him to do it. You know what I mean. He's a young boy. You know what I mean. He's 18 years
Following
old.
instructions.
You know what I mean. He's into the T as well. You know what I mean, because it's 0-0. If that's 5-0, Si, you do it and you take a risk and you do it when you know what I mean. To do it at 0-0 in a derby game when Forest are pressing for a goal and Sammy Amiobi's pressing and you've got Jolly pressing and you've got Grabbing and you've got you can't be making these kind of mistakes and these kind of errors. And you know what I mean. The goalkeeper just kick the goal, kick upfield and take pressure off your back four. You know what I mean. It's absolutely ridiculous. I just don't get it, because teams watch Man City, Liverpool, and they think they can all do it now.
Yeah, spot on there. But here's the thing, though, mate: is if Bogle sends it up the line, or if the keeper sends it long, and then the manager's going to be on their back for not following his instructions.
Yeah.
So they've got to, especially maybe not so much the keeper. Maybe the keeper, he should be doing it. But Bogle is a young boy. He's got to do what the manager tells him, whether he agrees with it or not. He's got to show a good attitude. He's got to show the right attitude by following instructions from the coaching staff.
I totally agree.
He could implement it better, or he could do it better. But if he's getting told to do it, getting told to do it.
Exactly. The thing is, I look at this and I think, so in training you try and replicate these things. So the things that could happen in the game. So the goalkeeper's got the ball for a goal kick. You know what I mean? The fullback wants the ball. You know what I mean? Should the goalkeeper give him the ball if he's got a man on him? No, he shouldn't. You know what I mean? So you work on things. So you work on giving him the ball under pressure. But if he's going to be under pressure, you don't give him the ball, because all he's got is a pass back to you, or he's got to kick it upfield, rushed upfield, where you can take your time and put it upfield with a bit of quality and a bit of finesse and hit the target where you want to hit. You know what I mean? So sometimes I just think you can't replicate these kind of things in training, because, you know what I mean, they don't know what Forest's tactics were. If Forest have been watching Derby, they will let him have it, and then all of a sudden they're going to pounce straight away and scare him into something, you know what I mean, and scare him into a mistake, and that's exactly what happened. And anybody who's watched Derby this year, travel, you know what I mean, that just let him have the ball. Let him have the ball, we'll give you the ball back, and you'll absolutely batter them by the end of the game, you know what I mean, you'll comfortably win, you know what I mean. And I'm not surprised at all that they're really struggling in the league, because of the way that they're so chalk and cheese home and away, you know what I mean. It's a worrying sign, you know what I mean. It's a sign of a Reading of old and a Wigan and sides. You know what I mean? Normally Derby County, they'll be strong away from home, they'll get a couple of goals, but this season they just look like just so out of sorts, and it's just all over the place.
Well, if you were playing Derby, mate, you just literally let them have the ball from a goal kick, you drop deep, and then as soon as they play that pass from the keeper to the defender, you'd press in numbers every time.
Straight away, yeah.
Yeah, it's pathetic, mate. Rooney to take over, mate. I'm telling you. I said it. I've been saying it now for weeks.
Yeah, totally agree.
Christmas time, Waza will be.
Or Rooney at Cardiff.
Play a couch. No, you piss right off. On him. Bring a drinking culture with him, isn't he? Yeah. So no, I think. I do think he'll be player coach by the end of the season.
Ah, definitely. He's
by the end of Christmas, probably.
He signed a contract, so he's there. He's there. He's just, you know, I just don't get the hold up, because he hasn't played now for the last
3 weeks, isn't it?
3 weeks, because they got knocked out of the playoffs. So it doesn't make sense to me, this. You know what I mean? Because he's now in his off season.
Does he have to wait till the window opens, though?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think he has to. Yeah,
technically, is he unemployed now? I suppose it depends when his contract runs out, doesn't it?
He could. I'm sure there must be a loophole, mustn't there? If he becomes a free agent.
But maybe his contract goes to the end of the season in America, because I know they went out of the playoffs, but the season hasn't finished yet, have it?
Or would you go there? And would you coach for 6 weeks, knowing that you're going there anyway? Because you're going there as a coach.
Get to know the boys.
Get to know the boys, get some experience. You know what I mean? Who knows? The manager's job might come available. So who knows?
Yeah.
You know, so you know what I mean? It's a fine detail side, isn't it? It's a fine margins, and you know what I mean. You can only gain experience by doing the job.
Yeah. So, well, and that's what me and you would do. But you know, he's having a whale of a time in Magaluf at the moment.
Well,
wherever he is.
Well, exactly. He'll be on holiday one, because it's his end of the season. You know what I mean? And I just think sometimes his priorities, and I don't know. If my team's struggling, I'd probably think, do you know what? I'm going to go and try and help him out and help them score goals, or help advise, or stand in the dugout and give some advice before the players go out. I don't know. You know what I mean? But that's everyone's different, I suppose.
Indeed, they are. So, Derby away, rubbish. Sort it out.
I know.
Next up, the high-flying, hotly tipped by this show, Preston 3, Huddersfield 1.
At the start of the season, this was probably one of the games that I was dreading. So for this to be a featured game is just like an unbelievable. Yeah, like Huddersfield at the bottom of the league. Preston were getting relegated. You know what I mean? So, listen, Preston have Alex Neil. And they've had a bit of a tough week as well, because obviously Alex Neil was linked with Stoke City, and you know what I mean. He was allegedly approached, and you know what I mean. A little bit of turmoil.
They complained, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but I think it was only a phone call, so I don't know what's going to come.
Phone calls are all right.
Phone calls are all right. He's just not allowed to do WhatsApps or
right.
I don't know.
No emails.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because no paper trail is there. Preston, they keep surprising me, but when I watch them and when I see the highlights of the game, I don't know why I'm surprised, because the way they attack side, there's probably, I don't think I've seen a better side in the Championship attacking, apart from probably West Brom and Leeds when they play their best side in patches of games. Because I thought Gallagher was absolutely outstanding. You know, the game started really early with a great free kick from Gallagher, hits the post, and Stockley was there to head it in on the line. Preston, they're surprising me with the way they play. You know, they play football for 1 minute, and then they go direct the next minute, and then they can go back to playing football. And I just love that they can mix it up a little bit. And that, I think that was my point at the start of the show, that's where Cardiff are getting things wrong. They haven't got a style of football. You know what I mean? They're trying to do one badly instead of just focusing on one or focusing on what they're good at. You know what I mean? And Preston have just got it. They've just got a spot on at the minute. You know what I mean? Gallagher's playing out of his skin. You've got other players just attacking. Brown finished brilliantly from across. You know what I mean? You got your wide men joining in with goals. I thought Gallagher's penalty was absolutely outstanding, by the way. You know what I mean? I thought the way he took it, I've never seen that before, that he turned his back on the ball. He had 3 steps away from the ball, turned round, and he obviously knew where he was going to put it. I just thought it was just a genius penalty, but it just shows the confidence of the players. You know what I mean? And this is a Huddersfield team who's in form, playing well, new manager, turned the fortunes round. You know what I mean? Who didn't play badly in the game, by the way, and had a couple of chances themselves. And Bakuna came on again, scored. You know, I don't know what that boy's got to do without getting a start. Poor lad. You know, we've spoke about him on the show before. He's been one of your ups before, and you know, we spoke about his handball. Is coming off the bench, but you know what I mean. He's obviously an impact player, and the manager sees him as that. But you know, Huddersfield will be back. I'm sure they'll pick up a lot more points. But you know what I mean. Preston at the minute, they're untouchable at home, and you know what I mean. It'll take a good side to go there and turn them over.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, Huddersfield 7 games unbeaten. They were on a good run. They've been playing good football. They've been doing really well. And for Preston to turn them over relatively comfortable is impressive. But like you say, they've been impressive all season. Gallagher has been superb. He's really, really impressed me this year. Who's the mid? I'm trying to think of the midfielder. There's a midfielder who I thought was outstanding, but I can't pronounce his name. Barkusen. Tom Barkusen. I thought he was so good.
Yeah, excellent. He just drives, makes things happen, scores goals as well. He was unlucky not to score the weekend as well. Obviously, Johnson's been scoring goals regular. You know what I mean? So the mixing upside, you know what I mean, it's different people scoring, and I think that helps. You know what I mean? When you've got teams who rely a little bit on the same goal scorers, and on Saturday, it's like it's different people. You know what I mean? Different people joining in, helping out, and you know, it's a sign of a good side. That.
Here's a question for you, very, very quickly. Do you think if Cardiff offered the other Cowley a managerial position, he would take it?
No. No, I think they work as a pair. I think they always have. I think they've come through football life together, and I think they bounce ideas off each other. I think older brother fronts things up a little bit, and younger brother stays in the background a little bit, but obviously has good ideas. What I'm told from people on the training ground, and as a good input. You know what I mean? But you know, it's working, doesn't it? So it's working. You know what I mean? I think if the timing was different, he would have had a decision to make, because obviously there was talk of him being Sheffield Wednesday manager, there was talk of him being Huddersfield manager, there was talk of him being Middlesbrough manager. You know what I mean? So he had to wait and be patient. You know, so you know what I mean. But the thing is, also, you say that stranger things have happened. If he gets offered the job, if he got offered the Cardiff City job tomorrow, would he turn it down?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Because a big thing. I know he enjoys working with his brother, and they got a good relationship. And both of them know. Say, if they both got offered the job at Cardiff City tomorrow, would they turn it down? They can't turn it down. The only manager I'd want more than them, like realistically, like, you know, if you're not talking like Pep or someone, is the Beisler from Leeds, because I wanted him to replace Malky Mackay. So he's my he'd be my first choice if I could pick anyone from the
Yeah.
Championship. Okay, so let's move on to the Preston. I think, their one issue could be if they get injuries. If they get a load of injuries, they could struggle. But they've got to make a decision, haven't they, in January, if they can find the money to spend, or if they're gonna just try and go with what they've got.
Stick or twist in it.
Or get some loan players in or something. They got to strengthen, haven't they?
Do you take a risk? But the thing is, also, I can't see them not getting in the playoffs the way that they're doing it. You know what I mean? Or top half, and you know what I mean. If that's a good season, you know what I mean, for the squad that they've got and the players they've got, it's a good season. You know what I mean? And I fully expected them to be in a relegation dogfight, and even if they lost every game for the rest of the season, now I still don't think they'll be anywhere near the bottom. Because there's some poor sides, and some teams that have to win more games, and I just think I think they've left them. They've given themselves a good opportunity to progress forward. You know that obviously the manager's done a great job. They're second in the league. They've got 31 points, scored 31 goals. You know what I mean? They've scored the most goals in the Championship. You know what I mean? That tells a story in itself. You know that Huddersfield scored 18. You know what I mean? Middlesbrough scored 13. You know what I mean? That's nearly 3 times. That's nearly 3 times more than another team in the Championship. That's just the fans are getting the money's worth. The fans are getting the money's worth. I tell you. But
yeah, the one thing I would say to what you just said though is I've seen Stoke over the years, like over the last 10, 12 years. I've seen Stoke bottle it. I've seen Cardiff bottle it. I've seen Derby bottle it, and they've looked on fire as if there's nothing could stop them. And I've seen them miss out on the playoffs. So I think I don't think they're going to get relegated even if they lost every game now, because they've got so many points and goals already. But
we need them to those side to get our predictions right. So we need them to lose every game for the rest of the season. You know,
every single one.
And then a points deduction.
Yeah. Manager's going to get sent off. There's going to be a brawl.
Oh, we need everything. We need everything. I think we need the Championship to blow up for us to get our prediction right.
Well, as we said last week, mate, we wrote down the real ones, which we'll reveal at the end of the season, last day.
Yeah.
So next up is Barnsley 2, Stoke 4.
I'll tell you what. If you're looking for value for money, you go to Orkwell, because it's Orkwell and Kenilworth Road just riddled with goals. You know what I mean? And I remember the first show sign. I was really, really looking forward to seeing Barnsley in the Championship and saying how many clean sheets they had. They had a record number of clean sheets last season. They cannot buy keeping one or two out. This season, no. I don't think they've let any. I think they've let an average of 2 goals. They've let 33 goals in the 16 games, so it's an average of 2 goals a game. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean. The opportunity they had to obviously to not go bottom of the league was to try and beat Stoke City. You know, they create loads of chances, you know what I mean, but they just can't defend for top at the other end. And you know what I mean. I do really feel for them. And the first goal probably summed up their season. That goalkeeper takes a free kick, mishits it. And then one of the informed players in the Championship scores from the halfway line, and that's probably when you know it's a great finish. But that's probably when you know your season's not going the way that it should be. When you tried and tested goalkeepers making a mistake, and then you give a penalty away. Lee Gregory, great penalty as well, great finish. I thought he was excellent throughout the game. Joe Allen popped up with another goal. You know what I mean? And when he's on song, we spoke about him last week, and he could win games on his own when he's on song. And then Klukas again scored an absolute terrific goal again. And in between that, thought Barnsley created a lot of chances, scored a couple of really good goals themselves. And you know what I mean? Part of me feels sorry for them, but you know what I mean? I don't want no team to be the whipping boys, but at the minute that the league just doesn't lie, and the amount of goals that they've let in, it's just it's criminal, really. You know what I mean? But new manager takes over the Stoke, and he must have certainly been impressed that he's seeing attacking football, and probably this is what they've needed. They've needed the change, and they needed the players to respond to a different voice and to impress somebody else. And you know what I mean? Because that decision was probably coming for weeks, and the players probably knew it was coming for weeks, and then all of a sudden Michael O'Neill's come in, worked with them for a day, and seen him score four decent goals, and And I think now it's time for them to kick on now. You know what I mean? It's they've obviously got an international break. Obviously, the manager will be away, so it'll be interesting how they respond when they come back after the international break, because they play Wigan at home, then they go to Cardiff away, play Blackburn at home, Hull away, Luton at home, Reading at home, Middlesbrough away. So their next 8 games, for me, in my opinion, that they're all games that they should or could win.
Mm.
You know what I mean? If they've got any aspirations of being higher in the league, you know what I mean? There's nobody in the top half there. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? The way that the season's panning out at the minute, it's probably a great time for the manager to come in, but obviously not ideal now that he's going to spend the next 2 weeks away from the players and he's going to leave the team in somebody else's capable hands. And I'm not sure how that works and how much of a success that's going to be.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, that, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
the one thing what I would say about Stoke is they protected Joe Allen, not in the way that he needs protection, but what they've done a lot this year is they've played him as a holding midfielder on his own, and he's been completely isolated and overrun. But what they did is they got Clucas and they got other players around him so that he wasn't isolated. He was able to link up the play. He was able to move the ball around the midfield and out wide. They played Ince from, I think he played from the start, and they played him out wide. They played players, I think they mentioned on the championship highlights, they played players in the correct positions.
Yeah.
Clucas has been very good for as long as I can remember, but he was exceptional on Saturday, particularly.
Yeah, it's consistency, and I think having someone like Joe Allen behind you, you know what I mean. You know that you've got that responsibility to just bomb on and go forward, and know that Joe's all right there on his own. You know what I mean. He's experienced enough. He's good enough to handle whatever the championship's got to throw at him, and you know what I mean. That must be fantastic to know that. You know what I mean, because you can just go and play a free game, you know what I mean, knowing that you've got that backup behind you, and you know what I mean. And I think that you just said there, Tom Ince, you know what I mean, you don't become a bad player overnight. You know what I mean. Lee Gregory, one of the top goal scorers in the championship last year for Millwall, you know. So they've got all these players, you know what I mean,
Martins, Indy, McLean,
who've underperformed, you know what I mean. I thought McLean was excellent, you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was very good,
driving in the box for the penalty. You know, but you know that's what he's all about. You know what I mean. You can't touch players in the box, and when he's going at pace, you know what I mean. You make a rash decision like they did, and he's got every right to go over. And you know what I mean. Love him or hate him, you know what I mean. His beliefs in religion and stuff, but on the football pitch, he's excellent. And you know what I mean. If they can get all those players on song, I spoke about Cardiff earlier about all these attacking players not playing well at the same time, and on Saturday, all Stoke City's attacking players all turned up to the party at once, and you know what I mean, and they put on a show, and you know what I mean. When that happens, you see how good it looks, and other teams need to do that on a regular basis. If Stoke can do it, they can fly out that league, 100%.
Do you know who didn't play well again? Was the Stoke City goalkeeper, Jack Butland. I thought he was pretty poor again.
Yeah, it was. When he came for a cross for the first goal, and you know what I mean, flapping about, he just looks like he's lacking something. And I'm not going to use the word confidence, because I can't get that. I can't work that out. You know what I mean? Because I said this last week. Well, I said this last week. It's maybe his arrogance, or you know, or not wanting to get hurt because January window's around the corner. You know, who knows what it is? Because what more confidence do you need than the manager putting you in the team? If you're in the team, you're his best goalkeeper, so you should repay him with a good performance. Likewise, Lee Gregory put you in the team, you repay him with a goal. Sam Clucas repaid the manager with 2 goals. Joe Allen repaid him with a different class performance. Tom Ince, same thing. You know what I mean? He's letting himself down. He's letting his teammates down, because you go away from home, you score 4 goals, you're hoping to win a little bit more comfortable, and you know what I mean. But your defence looks jittery because of what's behind him at the minute.
Yeah, even the second goal, he just stood there.
Yeah, he
didn't
dive.
No effort for it.
Yeah, he didn't dive.
The last thing I'll say on that game is I don't recall a team being bottom of the league creating as many chances as Barnsley.
Oh, mate, every week.
Mate.
Every week.
I've missed so many chances, mate.
Yeah, I've never seen a team. It was McKean scored the first goal, and he misses about 6 chances a game. You know what I mean? If he could finish, he'd be top goal scorer in the championship. But they're still let 37 in, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah.
They've got to score 5 goals to win a game.
It's crazy, you know.
Madness.
So next up we got Birmingham 0, Fulham 1. Fulham finally getting back on the winning trail.
Yeah,
Poor old Lee Camp.
Yeah, poor old Lee Camp. But yeah, there's a few people in this division you can't drop a ball to, and Mr. Mitrovic is just one of those players that you can't do it to. And Birmingham are having a bit of a tough time at the minute, Si. You know what I mean? Obviously got beat by Cardiff the week before. You know, it's just obviously now an international break. You know, sometimes it can come at a good time, but also you just want another game and play. You know, I mean, they're full of young lads, so young lads just want to go and play. They don't want to be thinking about losing another game. And you know what I mean? With obviously they've got Huddersfield, Sheffield Wednesday next couple of games as well. So the games for them are not coming thick and fast, and they're not coming the easiest as well. And you know what I mean? They created very little. I thought they were poor in long periods of the game. I thought Fulham are there for the taking at the minute. The way that they don't travel very well, and you know, but when you make mistakes like that, you can't legislate for them. And you know what I mean? And goals change games, and straight after half time, you know what I mean? Birmingham probably edged the first half, but didn't probably have enough quality to win the game. And in second half, when you make a mistake just after half time, you're up against it. And you know what I mean? That Fulham, when they are resilient and when they want to dig in like they did at Middlesbrough with 10 men, they can defend. You know what I mean? That's one thing they can do. And you know what I mean? They probably didn't create as much as I'd probably like with the kind of players that they've got going forward, but they won the game and they went home with another 3 points. And you know what I mean? They've got themselves in a decent position just outside the playoffs. They got in the playoffs until Bristol City knocked them out on Sunday, but you know what I mean? They'll be thereabouts, I believe. But you know what I mean? It's just is the gap growing between obviously the top one for them to close? You know what I mean? Because they do seem to drop points now and again. So obviously they can't afford to drop too many before the gap increases even further.
Yeah, they need to keep that winning thread if they want to go up as automatic. The only thing I was going to say is Birmingham. They got such a young team that it's going to be, you know, win, lose, draw, win. It's going to be so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I think the fans have kind of got to just accept that for the time being because and hope they can hold on to those young players, as we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So next up was Hull City 0, who've been on fire recently. West Brom 1.
To be fair, I thought they were excellent in this game as well. I thought they had Jared Bowen had a goal disallowed just before the goal. I thought they created another couple of chances. There was some very good saves from Johnson. I thought he was outstanding. But when you've got players like Jake Livermore in the team, and you know what I mean, he can strike balls like he does, and you've got Robson Kanu who made a start, which was pleasing to see. Diagana was excellent again. Pereira is one of my favourite players in the Championship. You've got Phillips who's caused problems throughout. They've just got an abundance of attacking players, and when you don't take your chances like Hull didn't, you're going to get punished at the other end. And you know, I mean, Jake Livermore, I probably didn't expect him to score, but when he hit that ball, it was going nowhere but the back of the net. And I was quite impressed that he didn't celebrate because I know he had his issues when he was at Hull, and Hull backed him through the tough times. And you know what I mean, it made me smile a little bit that there is a bit of love in football sometimes, and you know, I mean, between players and fans and clubs, and you know what I mean. And I really enjoyed that because respect goes both ways, and for a player to understand, you know what I mean. I know, you know what I mean. I obviously had family problems when he was at Hull with a baby and stuff, and you know what I mean. I had drink and drug problems at the time, allegedly as well, and you know what I mean. So for him not to celebrate on Saturday, I thought it was a really good touch by the boy.
Indeed, yeah, it was, and it was an unstoppable shot. And I thought Slaven Bilic's team were excellent. I thought Hull were excellent as well, mind. I
Yeah,
thought
so did I.
they were a bit unlucky not, to come away with nothing.
Yeah, one thing I will say, about Slaven Bilic's side is just the consistency. That they just seem to getting it right at the minute. They just seem to, you know what I mean, going away from home, they keep clean sheets. You know what I mean? Sam Johnson in goal. You know what I mean? He was at Villa when they got promoted. On loan, and I thought he's just excellent. He's just, you know what I mean, Bartley at the back. They're just getting it right. He's consistent with his team selections, and his bench is really strong. He's got players who can make a difference, and to be fair, they've done a really good run. And the next couple of games, the Sheffield Wednesday at home, Bristol City at home, Preston away, Swansea at home. So the next 4 games, they couldn't get any tougher. But I think after that, you're coming into what, first week of December, second week of December. I think by then, I think they'll have a better idea. If they can come unscared out of them 4 games, I think that one of those places will be potentially taken by a West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah, I think so. Next up, Leeds 2, Blackburn 1.
One player I'm going to speak about later on a little bit more was Paddy Bamford. Paddy scored his first goal since August, and to have the balls to take a penalty after having a couple of months without a goal, it shows what kind of mentality the lad's got really, and how much he oozes class. You know what I mean? That he can do that. And I thought his touch for Jack Harrison's goal as well was just out of this world. You know what I mean? That it shows how much a goal can change your confidence. And then I thought Leeds were just going to go and win that 3-4-5-6. You know what I mean? The way they were playing, they were all over the place, creating chances, scoring goals. And then just before half time, Stewie Downey knocked in a corner and Williams headed it in, and then it made a game of it. And I think it was 2-4, and both teams had chances to get to go further ahead or to equalise. But you know what I mean? I think in the end, I thought Leeds fully deserved it. You know what I mean? They had 15, 16 shots on goal, and you know what I mean. But they're just not scoring as freely as I think they should say. You know what I mean? 2 goals, considering they were 2-0 up in 16, 17 minutes. You know what I mean? They've got 3/4 of the game left, and you know what I mean. They just don't seem to put teams to bed. You know what I mean? They seem to they're content with thinking they're good enough to defend, and they are, because the league doesn't lie that they've only let 9 goals in. But you know, there's going to be one game where that comes unstuck a little bit. But they got the result. Bielsa's, you know what I mean, he's doing a good job. The 3rd in the league, you know what I mean. But I think I'm just waiting for them to hit 4th and 5th gear. You know what I mean? I think they've got more to come. You know what I mean? And that's my concern with the West Broms and the Prestons and the other sides in and around them. That Leeds have got more to come, and I'm not sure what other teams can go like Leeds could go. You know what I mean? I think they could go to another level, and I think they could spend in January as well, because I think that they could take a risk to go up this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think I thought Jack Harrison was incredible.
He's excellent. Excellent. Yeah, excellent.
Paddy Bamford, he just seems to go through spells where he'll not score for months, and then he'll score every week for a few weeks or a month, and then he'll do the same again.
Yeah. We'll be slagging him off in 2 weeks. Some of the chances he's missed.
Well, my point with him has always been he's got the talent and he's got the ability. If he wants to be centre forward for a top side, he's got to put the chances away regularly, or create so many chances like Andy Cole used to do, where it doesn't matter if he misses 6 because he'll still score 3.
Yeah.
But there we go. Next up, go on.
No, I totally agree. I followed his career. He was at Middlesbrough for a long period when we were really successful, and you know what I mean. There's no doubt in his talent. You know what I mean. From Chelsea, that he always thought he could do better and better himself, but he needs to do it on a consistent basis in the Championship, and he needs to do it in the Premier League to be classed as a quality striker.
Yeah. So next up was Millwall 2, Charlton 1.
Yeah, strange one. You know what I mean? Strange one for Charlton. You know what I mean? For me, I think obviously the manager's Gary Rowett's gone into Millwall, and he's had a positive impact. You know what I mean? We spoke about managers and changing managers and how much the impact they have, and I fully expected Charlton to go there and pick up all 3 points. And you know what I mean? But the game didn't pan out as simple as that. I think Charlton are missing Lyle Taylor. So I think we spoke about this last week, and I think the longer he's missing, and the longer obviously he's missing out there. You know what I mean? They're struggling to score goals in important games. I'm not saying they're struggling to score goals. My point, I think, I'm struggling to score goals in games where they need goals. You know what I mean? And sometimes when they're scoring goals in games that they don't need a goal, the goals come freely. But in games when they need a goal, like this in the London derby, this is when the players and the threats come to the forefront. And you know what I mean? I think Lee Boyle will be extremely disappointed that they didn't get a result from this, because I think he'll have gone into the game expecting them to win. And I think with the high expectations that Lee's set for his team and for himself, I think he'll be very disappointed. But I don't think he can have any qualms with the result. I thought Millwall were better on the day. You know what I mean? And for me, they deserve to win.
Yeah, I think so. Jed Wallace, cracking again.
He's outstanding. He's having a really good spell, and it's just coincided with the manager taking over. I think he started really performing probably the week after Neil Harris left. I think it was the Leeds game when Neil left, and I think ever since then he's really come to the forefront, and he's running from deep. He's direct. He's creating chances. He's scoring goals, and you don't get a better time to win a game than the 91st minute. And obviously, Jed Wallace had a big impact on the goal, and it was a great result for them, and probably deserved in the end. I think they just edged it.
Yeah, Bowie wasn't happy afterwards. He kind of said he thought that he couldn't believe they'd come away with nothing, or they thought they deserved at least a point. But I agree with you. I thought Millwall would probably deserve the win.
I think when managers come out and say they deserved a point, you know what I mean? That I'm all for managers saying, I think we deserved all three. You know what I mean? But point to point, you know what I mean? If you're hanging on to a point, you know what I mean, you don't deserve it for me. You know what I mean?
You played well.
If you're trying to win the game, then you deserve your points. You know what I mean? Because you're trying to play the part in the game. But they sat back and they got punished in the end.
Indeed. So next up is QPR 2, the mighty Borough 2.
Better, a little bit better, a lot more positives. Britt Assombalonga scored 2 goals. I thought he was outstanding. He looked a constant threat. He scored 2 very good goals. The second goal, a little bit fortunate with a dodgy back pass by Naki Wells, which I don't even know why he was doing back there. He shouldn't have been anywhere near the place for him to do that. But you know what I mean. But sometimes you earn your own luck at times. But going forward, I thought QPR were outstanding. Set pieces looked dangerous. Naki Wells saw himself a good goal, but the problem I've got with Middlesbrough is they worked hard to go ahead. So, you know what I mean? So they went ahead, 23rd, 24th minute, and then all of a sudden, QPR kick off, go straight up the other end and score. And, you know what I mean? You need to make sure that, you don't give chances away straight away, because you've worked your absolute balls off to get ahead, and then all of a sudden you give goals away, and there's no point going and working so hard and then just gifting things away. And, you know what I mean? The manager will be so frustrated, but it's a point on the board, and a point is better than they had the weeks before. You know what I mean? On a ridiculously bad run. So to go away from home, score 2 goals against the side who letting a lot of goals in as well. You know what I mean? QPR score goals, but they let goals in. So I always thought there was going to be goals in that game, because Middlesbrough can't seem to defend at times, and QPR score goals. So I thought there was always going to be goals, and I think a draw was probably a fair result. I think QPR probably could have nicked it at the end. But for a good save by Randolph. But I think if Middlesbrough can get the same side out and get a few injuries back for after the international break, I think they've got a couple of games. Hull City at home, I think, is next, and I think Middlesbrough need at least 4 points out of the next 2 home games to show supporters and the manager to show supporters that you can turn this around, because with managers changing at other clubs and fortunes getting turned around, maybe the chairman might think, maybe we'll have a look at that. But
yeah, it does feel like he's under pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he is, but rightly so. It's a results business. He's had 16 games, he's got 13 points. It's not enough. Not enough.
Not good enough, is it, really,
No.
when you look at it on paper?
No.
I thought, is it what's his name? I think it's Ayala. I thought he was quite good.
Yeah, he was. He had a header disallowed, which I still can't work out why it was disallowed. It was absolutely a fine header. He gave it for offside, but I thought he hit a defender on the way in. But yeah, it's frustrating. But he's a super championship defender. He knows the league. He dominates games, and I just hope they can keep him fit, because he has a big part of play with young Dale Fry next to him.
Yep, and next up, the resurgent Reading beat Luton 3-0.
Mark Bowen, I was very critical of what he did, of appointing himself, but absolute masterstroke. If he saw in that team what he's showing so far, then he's done a great job. You know what I mean? Because and people can say it's only Luton, but it's disrespectful load of rubbish. You know what I mean? When he took over, they've won 3, drawn 1, and he's turned their fortunes around. So you know what I mean? To beat Luton 3-0, Luton have scored in nearly every game, 17 shots on goal. You know what I mean? Puskas up front. It looked back to his normal self, just causing problems. Didn't score, but was causing problems. Baldock, you said about him last week, so I had a good look at him this week, and I thought he was a constant threat, playing on the shoulder, playing in pockets where defenders didn't like to be, and just looting all over the place. They didn't enjoy coming short, didn't enjoy running in the channels. They were just all over the place defensively, and Reading thoroughly deserved the 3-0 win. It could have been a lot worse than 3 as well. So I think that the international breaks come at a really, really bad time for Reading, because, 4 games unbeaten, flew up the league a little bit, up to 17th, because what you're doing, you're going to take 10 points off them, that had them at 8 points, that would have them bottom of the league, so Mark's come in and done an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, they've taken 12 points from the last 4 games or something.
Yeah, it's great. He's done great, yeah.
Done very good.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday 2, Swansea City 2.
I was hoping this was going to be one of the games. I was hoping. I was checking the results because I'd voted, and I voted this one because and I voted it because of the way that the way the game ended. Obviously, Swansea went ahead through Ayew. He missed another couple of chances, and then Gary Monk made a few substitutions and brought on Forestieri and Adam Reach and changed the game. Forestieri came on. Scored after great work from Adam Reach. Goalkeeper made a decent save, and then the fun started. That Fox scored in the 91st minute, and then Wilmot equalised in the 93rd, and it just sums up what the Championship's all about. And obviously the goalkeeper didn't have a great game. Westwood, made mistakes, but in my opinion for both goals. But this is what the Championship's all about. That the game's not finished. You can go 2-1 down in the 91st minute, but you still got a chance if you want a chance and you still want to go. And Swansea unbeaten still this season, and never say die attitude, and that's why they're fourth in the league. So it pains me to say it, but they're getting things right, and I wish league tables did lie, and they were there because they're very lucky, but on Saturday, I think they probably did deserve a draw. But each team was going for the game, and even Swansea at 2-1 down. They were at 1-1. They were still going for it, so that's why Sheffield went ahead. But I think a point was a fair result in the end.
Yeah, I think so. The boy Ayew misses quite a lot of chances, I think.
Yeah, he misses chances.
He does score, but he misses a lot, which could have sealed the game. I thought the boy George Byers, I thought was excellent again.
Yeah.
Just
to be honest, well, it is. It's frustrating, but it's like they have a different style of play away from home, though. They don't seem to play as I'll go the Swansea style of play. Away from home, they mix it up a little bit, and I like that. If the manager can continue the way he's doing it, I think he's doing great. And I thought Wayne Routledge as well was a threat. We spoke about him last week, that he's resilient. He never stops running. He's got energy to burn, and for a player who seems to been around since. God, he was around when I played. So was he 34? So yeah, he was only a baby when I was at Cardiff. So it's still nice for him to be kicking the football about and still playing at a good level. But I thought Sheffield Wednesday were excellent as well. So going forward, to create chances. Fletcher's an absolute handful, and if he can score a little bit more regular for the chances that they create. I think they'll win a lot more games, but you take Westwood's mistakes out of the game, Sheffield would win the game.
Yeah, I thought Adam Reach changed the game actually when he came on.
Yeah, he did. He did. He should start for me. He should start. He should start one side, and Harris should start the other. But
yeah, I agree. And lastly, we've got Wigan 0, Brentford 3, and Brentford have got right back in form after a few weeks of not very good results. They had a few results where they weren't quite performing.
Yeah.
Last couple of weeks, they've been back to it.
Yeah, well, they've won. What they've got 12 points out of the last 15. So they're up to 9th in the league. They're back scoring goals, and away from home, they look a real threat. They scored 3 at Swansea. They scored 3 again away from home. I thought Wigan were atrocious. I thought defensively they were all over the place, and at times, you know what I mean. Like Brentford scored 3 goals, and Ollie Watkins doesn't get a goal. Yeah, it's just, you know what I mean. So I was more shocked when I seen the result and I didn't see the goal scorers of this game, and I was thinking, oh, Ollie Watkins hat trick, he can be me star man again, and I was shocked. So when I seen the highlights, I thought he was outstanding. I thought he led the line really well, bringing people into the game, and it's just, you know what I mean. It just shows what talent Brentford have, because going forward, I thought they looked electric, and you know what I mean. And we spoke about them as a dark horse in the opening show. And if they can keep showing this attacking ability and attacking performances and goals and creating chances and keeping clean sheets like they did again, then they've got a chance to still be a dark horse. Because what did I say there? The ninth in the league, 24 points. So they're only 4 points out of the playoffs. You know what I mean? Which is nothing. And I think this international break for them will potentially be a really bad thing, because you know what I mean. They're probably the most informed team in the championship, so they don't want to break, but. You know what I mean? The next 3 games: Reading at home, Blackburn away, Luton Town at home. I think they need to pick probably 9 points up there, and people will then start to think that they're a real team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they did spend some money, didn't they, in their start, in the summer. But I think maybe it took them a bit of time to, just to gel, maybe. But I think De Silva and Norgard have been like the centre of their resurgence. Those 12 points, both of them have been excellent for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I thought they were excellent again.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, so that's the games. Let's go on for the 2 for 2. Let's start with the Downs. You got first, mate.
I've run for Kieran Westwood, Sheffield Wednesday goalkeeper, for dropping the first cross for Swansea's first goal, and I thought he was weak for the second goal. I thought flapping about and looking for a free kick in the last minute of a game. He's a Republic of Ireland international goalkeeper, and I expect better from him. He's had a fantastic season. He's kept them in it for long periods of games, and I thought he misjudged 2 really bad things in the same game, and it's cost him 2 points. And you know what I mean. Looking at the league now, it's, you know what I mean. It could cost them big. Looking back at the end of the season, you can't afford those things to happen. So he's my first down.
Yeah, it's a good shout, mate. That is. I've also gone for a keeper for my first down. I've gone for Lee Camp. Dropped an easy cross.
Not surprised. Yeah, not surprised.
And handed Fulham the game, mate.
Yeah.
And that would have been a big point for Birmingham, who've been struggling recently. A point against Fulham would have been a nice way to go into the break.
I totally agree. It's fine margin size, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's cost them a point. It's cost Sheffield Wednesday 2 points. You can't afford to lose your side points.
Yeah, spot on, mate. And who you got for your second one?
My second down, I've gone for Bogle from Derby and Naki Wells from QPR for both back passes, which cost both teams points.
Dreadful.
You know what I mean? That Derby, it cost them a point. QPR, it cost them 2. You know what I mean? You can't afford to, you know what I mean? Just clear your lines. You don't need to take risks. You don't need to play overplay football and play Ajax way, Man City way, Liverpool way. You know what I mean? You'll get opportunities when you play against them to do that, but don't need to do it in the Championship, because it's, you know what I mean? To pass to Lewis Grabban and Britta Sombolonga, you can't pass to 2 decent centre forwards who eat goals up for fun like that. So yeah, there's my second down.
Yeah, it's just do the basics and get rid, put it out.
Yeah,
get it clear. Don't play across your goal.
Totally.
Yeah. I've gone for Tom Lawrence. We've been consistent and we've been fair all the way through the season.
Yeah.
And I've sort of given some players some grief, some nasty challenges, and Tom's was not good.
No, shocker.
And the thing with them is, he's got to control himself. He's lucky he didn't get sacked last week alongside Keogh. And I feel like he's got to keep his nose clean, keep out of trouble, and maybe repay a bit of the faith or support, whatever you want to say, by the club, the manager, the fans, and just keep his nose clean, because he needs to let his football do the talking, because his actual football has been very good this year, but there's too much bad decision making going on for my liking.
Yeah, I think he can't afford any more bad publicity. You know what I mean? So you can't afford a red card. You keep your nose clean. You know what I mean? And just get on with football. Let your feet do the talking. He's good enough. He's certainly good enough. He's got all the talent in the world. So he just needs to play it with strength.
Indeed. Who you got for your first up?
My first up, I've gone for Paddy Bamford. I've been very critical of him, and rightly so. But you know what I mean, to have the nerve to take the penalty after not scoring since August, I thought he was excellent. His touch for Harrison's second goal, I thought was absurd. So Paddy's got my first up.
Yeah, I went for Sam Clucas of Stoke. I thought he was excellent all-round performance. He supported Joe Allen in around the middle of the pitch, absolutely controlled the game, and obviously he scores a great long ranger for his second goal. But the first goal, that first touch was just exquisite, and just to get out of his feet and just hit it without looking up was superb from the halfway line, no less.
Yeah, no, I like that. I could have easily had him. For my second one, I've gone for Jake Livermore for West Bromwich Albion. A for his goal, I thought it was outstanding. But B for his lack of celebration and his respect for the football club, because I just thought it just showed how much class the lad has. You know what I mean? He's had personal problems. He's not liked by a lot of people of football, apparently, for certain things that he's done in the past. But I just thought he just oozed class on Saturday, on the pitch and off it. So he's my second one.
Shout, mate. I like that. And I went for Paul Gallagher of Preston,
Nice.
leading the mighty Preston every week these days. He's a warrior, and he's making everyone around him better, particularly some of those younger players, just dragging them all around with him. And he's, he can't do any more.
No, exactly. Totally agree. What a shout that is. Great shout that.
Okay, so let's finish off now with some questions. Guys, you could send your questions for Andy every week to facebook.com/AceCastNation or Twitter @AceCast_Nation. Use the hashtag AceNationArmy. And you can also email acenetworkcontact@gmail.com. So Peaches has sent in another word association for you. So it's lazy.
Oh, my brother.
It's harsh.
True though.
Scruffy.
Oh, scruffy. Jack Grealish.
Angry.
Ooh, angry. Wayne Rooney.
Inappropriate.
Inappropriate. Oh, it's a good one, that one. Inappropriate. Oh, you might baffle me with that one. Inappropriate. Don't think I've ever come across anything within football inappropriate.
Anyone make any inappropriate jokes?
Baffle me, but that's baffle me, that one. Baffle me.
Then we'll have to come back to it.
Can't think. Yeah, can't think.
At Honky Donkey asks, who's your money on to take over from Warnock now he's left?
We spoke about a number of names there, but I'll be honest. I think the fans will have a big part to play in it, and I think Craig Bellamy will take over.
Interesting. Johnny wants to know, why do you hate Danny Mills so much?
I don't think there's just like one reason. I think we've had a few spats every time we played against each other. I used to play on the left. He used to play right back, and there wasn't just kicking involved. There was a few verbals, a few pushing and shoving, and we just had zero respect for each other. So it was like little and often. But then it's just constant all the time. So I'd look forward to play against him. He'd look forward to play against me, and then it would be worse the next time round. So it was like by the end of our careers, it's probably a feud.
It's like a blood feud now.
Yeah.
He also wanted to know, he said, what did you get for Si for his birthday? And
just love, bit of love.
That's all it's needed.
Bit of love until he comes down. Till he comes up to Middlesbrough. So I'll sort him out.
Indeed. And what was it like to play with Merson at Borough as a youngster?
Playing with him was excellent. To learn from the Magic Man was outstanding. It was it was the way he left, and some of the certain things that he said about some of the players and stuff was things what don't sit with me right. You know what I mean? That he's had his own problems, and nobody ever goes and slags people off. But you know what I mean? At the time at Middlesbrough, there was a drinking culture, and you know what I mean. As young boys, and you dabble a little bit and you have a drink, but to be pulled up on it by somebody who used to have a drink problem is a little bit like Two-Face and pot kettle black, a little bit.
I see. Okay. What's the wildest football Christmas party you've ever attended? Names and details. He's demanding.
Ooh, maddest one. We've had a few good ones. We had a really good one for Cardiff. We flew down to Newcastle from Bristol. Had a couple of days away. We've done one in Dublin. It was just pure drink fueled. Obviously Willie Boland being at the forefront of it, and sinking probably 3 pints to everyone's one, and just getting people in the right mess. You know what I mean? But always good fun. Obviously all sorts going on, and just proper team bonding sessions the way that it should be. You know what I mean? That footballers get a really bad name at times, but sometimes these things need to happen. And you know what I mean? The last thing on my mind in every one of my Christmas do was to get in a car and go and have it, and to go and drive. I'd rather go and have another drink and to plan my next drink tomorrow than think I was going to get in a car. You know what I mean? So it's always the last thing on my mind. But no, Christmas parties were always something that we always look forward to. But I think nowadays they happen so early or so late. They either happen in November or January because there's so many games around Christmas that footballers can't fit them in. So, yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? That so many people just think that they'll drive home like it's laziness almost, isn't it?
It's arrogance. It's pure arrogance.
And the last question is, it's a bit of a weird one, simply because since the question was asked, things have changed. But I don't want to leave them out because they asked the question. So Kelly Dinnis asked, I think Cardiff City should just let Warnock see out the season. Don't spend any money in January. Save the money and spend it in the summer for a new manager, if we're allowed to, after the Salah incident. What's your thoughts, Andy Campbell?
If he was still in charge, I'd probably totally agree. You know what I mean? I don't see the point in throwing money away. There was no point in throwing money away. We said this last week that, you know what I mean? It's important that a new manager comes in next season, this season, if there's going to be an interim manager, and they're able to spend the money wisely themselves instead of somebody else spending it for them. You know what I mean? So for me, whoever, and if it's a short-term manager for a long-term manager in the summer, then I don't see the point in spending money in the January window. If it's a full-time manager in the coming now, let them spend what they want for the January window.
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes the most sense. I just think if they are in with a chance of getting to the playoffs, they have to make sure they get there.
Yeah, totally agree.
And it's just what they do with whether it's loans or monies or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Okay, so to finish off, we will have the most exhilarating 10-second segment out there, soon to be award-winning, no doubt, the best segment in the whole of TV, radio, podcasting, social media. It is Fake Geordie Bingo Lingo. Fact.
I've gone for famous people from Middlesbrough who I've met. So people, I'm not famous in my eyes, but I've met Jamie Bell, who's an actor who played Billy Elliot.
All right.
So I met him, had a pint with him, and my claim to fame, though, the two claim to fames, I had coffee with Jet and Hunter from Gladiators. They're both from Birmingham, you see. So two Middlesbrough ones, but there's one what slipped through the net, and that's the one and only Chris Rea. That obviously Chris is a big Middlesbrough fan, born and bred in the area, and I always wanted to meet him, and hopefully one day the bucket list can be ticked off.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult though. Could be a road to hell. Could be a road to hell.
Set that one up, didn't I?
Yeah.
See, people think that was set up, and it wasn't.
Yeah. And just naturally.
I'm not that clever.
Yeah, I just got an obscene amount of musical knowledge.
There you go.
There we go. So, guys, I know it's been slightly longer because we had the Neil Warnock breaking news just before, so we ended up talking about Cardiff for ages. But we'll be back to normal next week unless something else happens and some footballers do something stupid, and then it'll be longer again. But you can find Andy on Twitter at Andy Campbell 32. You can find me at AceCast Nation, Facebook.com/AceCast Nation. And let us know what you think. Let us know. Drop some comments in the videos and Facebook, Twitter. And send Andy some more questions next week. You can make them as weird as you want.
Weirder the better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more fun. And don't forget to vote on Saturday or Sunday morning. Tell your friends, share, all that good stuff. Andy, thanks for joining me, mate.
My pleasure, mate.
Indeed. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you, fellas.